5 million gallons of fuel, which would be diesel, taking 18 hours to fill her up, and she burns about 108 gallons a mile. Not exactly a Prius. So guys, welcome to the surrender deck, as we call it. These are the decks where the Japanese signed the instruments of surrender that ended World War II. Now the plaque on the floor that we just passed, which you'll see in a few minutes, that'll be where the table sat and where the whole ceremony will take place. Now a funny side story to all my Australian family, y'all have the original table. It was a custom mahogany wood table that was donated to us by Great Britain for the occasion. They got that table here and discovered it was too small. So they went downstairs to the mess deck, they grabbed a table they had breakfast on, they wiped it off, brought it up, put a green tablecloth on it, and that's the table they used for the ending of World War II. Now that table also sits in our Naval Academy Museum and Annapolis Academy, while the mahogany wood table is in Canberra, Australia, and y'all's National War Museum. So you guys got a better deal there. And then across from the plaque, you're going to see some replicated copies of the instruments of surrender. Now the real United States copies are going to be on display in the archives of DC, and the Japanese copies are on display in Tokyo. Now, not to make fun of any country, but it is a part of history and these things do happen. So when you look at the Japanese copies on the left, you'll notice a small little discrepancy. Signature for Canada is blank, he signed on the wrong line, he signed for France. Go back. Now during all of that though, the ship is not here in Pearl Harbor. It is anchored in Tokyo Bay, September 2nd, 1945. Now Dunkirk 1 and 2 are aimed at Tokyo. A company with over 250 Allied ships and over 1,000 planes, including bombers, orbiting around the Tokyo Bay area. Insurance, just in case they weren't ready to sign or pull another sneak attack. Now the actual ceremony was to start at exactly 9 o'clock in the morning. However, there were no Japanese delegates aboard this ship at 9 o'clock, so MacArthur walks right back into the Admiral's stateroom, so he can have the Japanese wait on him instead of the other way around. At 9:02, you got 11 delegates stepping on board. Then MacArthur would finally step down, along with Admiral Halsey, Admiral Nimitz, and the ship's chaplain. Now the chaplain is going to open up with a prayer, then MacArthur steps up and gives a short but very powerful speech, talking about sowing the seeds of peace, tolerance, and rebuilding, which wasn't just for the Japanese or the United States, but for the entire world. So following that, it is time for them to sign the documents, and the first person to sign is going to be Foreign Minister Shigemitsu. He represents the Emperor and government of Japan. He would originally sit down and remove his gloves and top hat out of respect. He also could not read English, so his translator was present with him. And the awkward thing about that is his translator graduated from Harvard University. So once his translator helped him understand what the document said, he would sign over the entire Japanese government to the Allied forces. Second person to sign, General Yoshijiro Imezu, in charge of the Imperial Army. Different story. A very proud man that did not believe in surrendering one bit. So what he did as a last act of defiance is he would step up to the table. He did not remove his gloves or his hat, nor did he sit down, because he refused to bend his knees in front of the enemy. He leaned forward out his hips, signed his name, and stepped back. Third person to sign is Douglas MacArthur. He signs as Supreme Allied Commander. Now, he did not need to sign the documents, but if you know anything about MacArthur, he normally got what he wanted, and he would also use 6 pens for his signing. Now, the first 2 pens are the most important ones, given to 2 lieutenant generals behind them, Lieutenant General Jonathan Wainwright and Lieutenant General Sir Arthur Percival. Now, Wainwright had surrendered to the Japanese in the Philippines, and Percival had surrendered in Singapore. Both men will spend 3 years of torture in prison war camps during those times, each of them weighing less than 100 pounds by the time they got here for the ceremony. So MacArthur takes his first pen, he will sign Parson with that pen, he hands it to Wainwright, he grabs another pen, signs another person's name, and hands it to Percival. And he gave them those pens as a gift and a thank you for their service to their countries, and those 2 men will symbolically represent all prisoners of war for World War II. Now he makes his way to use pens 3, 4, 5, then he gets to pen number 6. Now pen number 6 was a red Parker pen that was given to him by his wife. Unfortunately, before he could return that pen to his wife, it was stolen out of his office in the U.S. Embassy in Japan. But I'm still looking for it on eBay. Now, fourth person to sign is going to be Fleet Admiral Chester W. Nimitz. He represented the President and signed on behalf of the United States, followed by every allied leader represented that morning, which would be China, UK, USSR, Australia, Canada, France, Netherlands, and New Zealand. So just in 23 minutes, the bloodiest war in history comes to a close. Now, there's no exaggeration about that. It is humbly estimated that 69 million people lost their lives during this war, 50 million of that being civilians. So it is true what they say, the pen is mightier than the sword. I give you time to go on the other side, check around, take some pictures. I'll be hanging out there if you have any questions. Then we got one more stop in presentation for our